Hare Krishna. So we'll start the session by paying our obeisances to Srila Prabhupada, who is founder Acharya of ISKCON. And we'll also seek blessings from our spiritual master, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, and also our inspiring spiritual master, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. So we are on our journey onto the third chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, which is titled as Karma Yoga. Right. So for the sake of ease, we have divided this chapter into 5 sections. Right. So today, Krishna willing, will try to complete this chapter by covering verse 38 to 43. We already started this section last time, and which is all about conquering lust, which is our greatest enemy. Right. So I have already shared these slides with you, which basically takes us through the chapter 3 so far. The verses we have done from first verse to verse number 37, right? So I just want to check before we start to this session, if you have any questions on the verses we have covered so far. Okay. So you all are good to start with a verse 38?
I have one question.
Yeah, sure.
So last week you mentioned that when we discussed about the free will, the free will is the one which is going to determine our karma of this birth. And as we said, we should leverage that free will towards Krishna's consciousness and acting for Krishna. So if the free will is not there, what you said is that we will be like robots. So my question is, we have, still it's a follow-up question on top of what I asked last week. So we have all the what we are today is carried forward from so many births and all our past karmas, vasanas. And let us say the free will is not there. What is going to happen? Suppose there is no free will and we have our karmas, past karmas and vasanas, and then we are going to act as per the past karmas and vasanas. If the free will is not there, then we will not be desiring anything new. Everything is. Yeah.
See, can you first tell me what did I already told you? Because if you assume this seems to be a hypothetical question. Why? Because if we have no free will, then how we will generate our past karmas? Then there would not be any, past karmas. There would not be anything. So if there was no free will, then how and who will then determine, which body do you get? Like why a cat gets a cat body, a dog, or we different people, why we have certain parents.
So are we saying
we would always have the free will?
Okay. Are we saying that the thought is not just based on our past karma, and it is that limited portion of the free will? It is.
See, before you complete your question, my thing is that if we didn't have free will, right, then who will determine and what will determine that which body we get in this birth, right? So we always had that free will on the basis of which a soul would do anything, right? Otherwise, what was the use of Krishna speaking Bhagavad Gita? And Krishna will do everything. Krishna will manage like a person manages a machine in a factory, right? Now, this free will and whole lust thing Krishna explains, whole sense control things Krishna explained in chapter 2. Krishna is asking us to control that, right? we have two choices. Either we utilize anything in Krishna's service, or we utilize things for our own sense gratification. This choice is always there with us, right? That choice is our free will, our independence, right? And that independence is like Krishna, as we discussed, is Om Swarat, right? He is fully independent. He is not dependent on anything else. But our independence is also dependent on something, right? We have that minute independence. What we discussed was that we can desire, but then Krishna sanctions that desire on the basis of, right, the worth. For example, we discussed that example that we want to construct something. So if you want to construct something, you should have some assets, right? So certainly on the basis of that, right? Now, yeah.
So that does it mean then why only few people? I mean, few people will dovetail their consciousness towards Krishna. Why not somebody else? That free will, is it just due to that free will factor? Because what makes, because I mean, it is all past karmas also play a role, right? Because if somebody, to begin with, somebody is in Krishna consciousness from the early part of his life.
Yes.
And then there are people who may not, they will continue to do this sense gratification over several lives, right? Even in the current life, it will continue. So, so you mentioned that we have the free will, and then Krishna has instructed how to, control the senses and how to engage them in Krishna's consciousness. So, so if the free will is my doubt is that if the free will is so important, then the past karmas don't have any role to play in our current actions, whatever we are doing, because we are saying that our desire, we can desire whatever we want, but then that means the choice, the person makes the choice independently on himself, because then the past karma has to play a role, right? For example, right. I have a free will. I desire whatever I want, but ultimately it gets sanctioned based on the past karma. Correct? Is it not true?
So basically the question is the interaction between the two, right?
Yeah, the interaction between them.
How does that play a role, right?
Yeah.
Right? So for example, I think so. I gave this example that because of our past activities, right, as a reaction of our past activities, we were supposed to get wet in a rain, right? So there will be a rainfall and we were supposed to get wet. So the rain will be there, right? But what we can do is with our present karmas, right? We can use an umbrella to avoid getting wet. So rain will be there, we will be there, but we can protect ourselves from getting wet by using our present karmas. Now,
is that free will, Sumitji, that present karma?
Right? Yes. See, okay. The present karma, see, any karma, any activity is dependent on our free will, right? Any activity, like we are talking about Nishkam, Karma Yoga, or Gyan Yoga, or Ashtanga, all this is done by an individual. Either they can do any of these, or they can do Karma Kanda, or they can, just be atheist, right? It is their free will which is defining that. Now, also we will see in subsequent chapter, specifically in the 6th chapter, Krishna highlights towards the end of 6th chapter that Arjun asks a question that Krishna, now what will happen to a person if he takes up Krishna consciousness but is not able to, fully achieve the end result of Krishna consciousness. So he wanted to say that this person will be nowhere. Like there is a kahavat in Hindi, there is a saying, na ghar ka na ghat ka. He will be nowhere, right? Because so then Krishna replies that no activity in Krishna consciousness will at any point of time be a waste. Why? Because that activity will help the person to get birth in an aristocratic family or a Brahmana family, right? Two things, right? Aristocratic or Brahmana family. Why? Because there they will get facilitation to cultivate. Because someone who is, materially, financially well off, they don't have to struggle for basic living, right? And a Brahmana, a person born in a Brahmana family, by birth they will have some sanskaras. But a person who has achieved much more than that, like he was a devotee, but due to some circumstances, he fall apart. Then that person will take birth in a devotee family. That person will take birth in a devotee family. Which is why these kids like Sharanya, Hasini, Anvi, Ivan, right? Ruchita, Gopal, Arushi, all they are not normal kids. We may think that this is my kid, this is my son, my daughter, whatever. But they are not normal. They have not only got birth in a good, families, but they also have their parents as devotees. So this is carrying on from the past life, right? And now in present life, Krishna has given them a facility because of what they did in the past. Now it is their prerogative to decide, right, using their own free will, how to further enhance their Krishna consciousness. Even now, Krishna will give them facility. Krishna will give them opportunities. But it is up to them to either take it forward or just be there. Similarly, for any karmi, or any atheist, it is a similar arrangement. That whatever they did in their past life, they will have to face the karmas. But Krishna says, for a devotee, why there is so much discount for devotees? Why? Because Krishna says that for my devotees, I will personally take care of them. Whatever they lack, I will try to give them that, and whatever they have, I will protect them. That means Krishna takes guarantee for devotees that he will take charge of them. He will try to compensate for, things. Now, for example, devotees and acharyas give an example. If due to our past karmas, we were supposed to have a fracture, a devotee may just have a mild cut, right? It's because it's not that only after this life, we'll attain something. Even in our current life, you see, Krishna takes charge, Krishna takes care. But now, this is normal. Sometimes, even for pure devotees. Okay, so before I go to that, Shanmukh is it making sense to you?
Yeah. So the relationship between the past karma and free will, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I was thinking that even our actions, the way one acts on us or I act on the other person depends on the past karma. That is what I was thinking before.
Yeah. In a way, I tell you, yes, it is not that. It is not that. For example, if there are 10 people and 10 people are placed in a same situation, all 10 of them may react differently. For example, if there is a agitation, any type of agitation, may it be anger, or may it be a lust, or may it be a greed, whatever it is. Someone, it is common, I'm not talking about devotees, right? Someone will not be agitated at all. You try to agitate that person, that he will get angry, he will not. While other person, the person who is last in the row, the 10th person, you give a little agitation and then you will see a wild reaction. Now, why these people are different? These people are different because, of their vasanas, their sanskaras. But Krishna says in 3.34 that it is not that you cannot change them, these sanskaras, these things. See, you cannot change your nature on the basis of which you do certain things. But then your sanskaras, your vasanas, these are the things which you can curb down and you have to control. Krishna says these are difficult things. So you have, but regardless, like even when you talk about nature, you talk about sanskaras or vasanas, all these things, they are developing because of our past karmas. Now, when it even comes to your nature, nature, if you are a Kshatriya or a Shudra, whatever you are, if you are following the principles of Bhakti Yoga, we discussed that they can even overcome their nature. We discussed there were two examples also,
Yes.
right? So this is the power of Bhakti. So now I hope you are able to understand the past things and our current activities. How, they go sort of, sync and sync, but depending on our current activities, whatever they are, they can really mold, us in the current direction. Right? Now, okay. These karmas, it's not very easy to understand, very complicated thing. And how we will see in the last 6 chapters, how these modes of action, right, they act upon this. I shared a introductory slide deck with you last time, right? Yes. But how these are going to further act, and how they define one's nature, not even one's nature, what one eats, what one speaks, what all these things are defined. And Krishna says, but a person who is surrendered onto me, I will take care of that person, right? In 7.14, Devi Yasha Gunmai Mammaya Durat. Mammaya Durat. It's very difficult to overcome these modes of nature. Why? Devi Shakti. It is all Devi Shakti. What we, people large, they celebrate this Navaratri, right? 9 days. It's Devi Shakti. She's Durga. She's taking care of this material world, this Durga. Right? So Krishna says, Devi Yasha Gun Maini. This is my energy. This is my Devi. Mam Maya Durataya. To overcome is very difficult. Ma Mevi Prapadhante. But a person who surrenders onto me,
they can overcome them.
They can?
My illusory energy.
They can overcome. So that is the thing. That we can overcome these things when we surrender to Krishna. And today, that is where, it is, we are going to discuss one of the most practical section for all of us. And Krishna has already said that this is the greatest end. Very now. Greatest enemy, this lust. So, should I move forward? Anyone has any other question or comment? No? Okay. So conquering lust, the greatest enemy, right? Now these are the three sections, right? Within this section, the sub like 36, Arjun asked the question that what impels me to sinful activities, right? And then Krishna says, lust. Lust is what impels you. Mahashano Mahapapma, right? Very now. And then we will further see. Now, in from this 41 to 43, Krishna will talk about how to conquer the lust. Now, if someone is going to ask that you have to overcome this gap, right? Because this is the most, this is the gap which is actually pulling you down. Then you will ask the person, okay, what is the gap? Right? What are my gaps? If your leader, if your manager will tell that, you know, Rajesh ji, you are not able to deliver because you have certain gaps, then you will ask, okay, tell me what are the gaps, right? So Krishna has highlighted the gap. Now, also Krishna will share that how can you overcome that? And in order for us to overcome, Krishna will also help us by telling us that where is this lust strategically placed in our body, you know. So today's session is very interesting, right? Okay, so let's go ahead. Now, what was this? A person, even though he knows he may be diabetic, right? Not able to control, right? His tongue. Keep eating. Arjuna actually is asking almost a similar question. It seems something is pushing me to do some sinful activity, right? Why are we not able to control ourselves, given the circumstances and the situation, right? And similar thing happened with whom? Does anyone know a story of Ajamil? Ajamil is from Bhagavatam. This character, he's from Bhagavatam. He was a great Brahmana. He was a son of a Brahmana, and he used to practice Brahmanical culture. He was born in Brahmanical culture. He was not a Kali Yuga person, right? And this Ajamil, he once saw when he was going to collect flowers, from the forest. He saw a insane scene. He saw a prostitute with a man, and when he saw that scene, it hit his mind. It hit his mind. And then what he did was, he brought that. He was a married person. He had his parents living with him. He got that prostitute in his house. He threw away his parents. He threw away his wife. And we got 10 children. And that prostitute made him to do each and everything which a nasty person can do. He used to steal for that prostitute. He used to do all sinful activities in order to make that prostitute happy. So, and then finally, you might know the story. There is a book known as Second Chance, in which Prabhupada has given lectures, and we have compiled a book, Second Chance. So in that, Prabhupada speaks elaborately about this. So when he was about to leave his body, this Ajamil, he was such a sinful person. Where will he go? Who will come to take him? Yamdutas.
Narayana.
Yeah, no, Yamdutas. He was sinful. So Yamdutas came to take him. But because of his Brahmanical culture, he was a Brahmin. Because of his, that pious activities, past pious activities, somehow he named his son as Padmaji was saying,
Narayan.
Narayan. He named his son Narayan. And he was very much attached to his son. Usually, when we have more kids, we are more attached to our youngest kid. Right? And so was he. So was Ajamil. And when these people, these Yamdutas, came to take him to Yamraj to give him all the punishment, he called, due to his attachment, he called his son Narayan. He called his son Narayan. And because he took the name of Narayan, what happened? The whole scenario changed. Sometimes in our companies, we see the leadership changes. And because of leadership changes, many things change. Right? Here also something like that happened. What happened? By chance, unintentionally, he took name of Narayan. He was intending not Narayan Bhagwan. He was calling his son Narayan. But because Nama Chinta Mani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Siddho Nitya Mukta Nitya Nama Nam. There is no difference between Nam and Namin. There is no difference. And he was not referring to Narayan Bhagwan, but because he took the name Narayan, that is the power of name. That is why in Kali Yuga, Kalo Tadhari Kirtana, everyone is requested to chant the names of Krishna, name of Narayan, name of Vishnu, right? Why? This is the power. So that is the power. Don't keep your children name at Tony, Bintu, Pintu, Tintu. That will be of no use. Our culture was to call our Radhe Shyam, Ram, Sita, all these names. Then it came to, names of Surya, Chandrama and all that. And now it has come to like, there is no difference between names of people and names of dogs and cats. You never know if the person is calling his son or daughter or a dog or a cat. So this is Kali Yuga culture, right? So Ajamil, why we brought this story was because he was a Brahman, right? Now what has happened is because he came in the contact of material modes, right? He was not able to control. He was not able to control. So how and what we should do is very important. What we see, what we contemplate. Dhyayato Vishan Pumsa, Sangaste Shukujayati, Sangas Sanjayati Kama, Kama Krodha. Krodha Bhavati Sammoha, Sammoha Smriti Vibrama, Smriti Viramshat Buddhi Nasho, Buddhi Nashat Pranashyati. That is what happened to our Ajamil, right? So, this also we discussed last time. Now, we were all, as a soul, we always had that pure love for Krishna. But because when we came in contact with the what? Material nature, that love got converted into lust. And when that lust is not satisfied, Kama Bhavati Sammoha. Sammoha Smriti Vrimshat. Smriti Vrimshat Buddhi Nash. So that lust converts into, if it is not fulfilled, it converts into anger, wrath, right? And that anger will take away our mind and intelligence. Buddhi Nashat Pranashati, and we will fall down in this material world. Now, sometimes people may blame Krishna that I never wanted to do, but what happened is God is responsible for everything. Even if I am smoking, drinking, whatever I am doing, who is responsible? I am not in control. Who is in control then? Now, what is this? Who is he? A tailor. Nowadays, we don't go to tailors so often, right? But when we go to a tailor, tailor will make that trouser or shirt or whatever it is according to our demand, right? Tailor may tell you like this is this, but then you say, no, I want this thing. And once the thing is prepared, you say the fashion has changed. Now, are you going to blame the tailor? Who was responsible? Tailor gave what you wanted. So why you are holding him responsible, Baba? Right? It is us who are responsible, not Krishna who is responsible. You demand. You are adamant in your desires and demands. What will he do? What he does is, again and again reminds you. Now, all of us, we went for this book distribution. What was your experience, Shanmukji? How many people were willing and they were looking you with, eyes like they want to even. Shanmukji, can you share your experience?
Yeah, I think I found multiple sorts of people. Somebody don't even pay any attention. Before we say a word, they will just, I have it. They don't even listen and they go. And I think maybe 5% of people, they were like listening and trying to understand what we are saying. And then coming into the dialogue with us. Yeah, so, but mostly either they say one set of people don't even listen and they say they go, and second set of people, they say that we have this book. Yeah.
Shanmukji is very mild. He has not come across. Once Shanmukji, Rajesh ji, and all of us went to DMart and we kept our table, and that person came, and fortunately, we don't understand Kannada. So he started giving all the flowery languages, and then he said he will throw these books. You better run away from here. So we meet all kinds of people. Even yesterday, when we went to one of the temples, yesterday evening, we met one person like this also, similar. So, you will feel, and at the same time, other time you will feel pure devotees, also, who are encouraging you, thanking you for what we are doing, right? So, now what we are doing, we are giving them an opportunity. We are acting on behalf of Krishna, right? Right? Now, people cannot say, Krishna, you never gave me opportunity. Arey Baba, Krishna is coming himself. Krishna is sending his representatives. Krishna is sending his servants also. Krishna is creating all the opportunities. But people are not interested. What can Krishna do? Right? So, now, in this 38th verse, someone will like to read this verse?
As fire is covered by smoke, as a mirror is covered by dust, or as the embryo is covered by the womb, the living entity is similarly covered by different degrees of the lust.
So, now this lust, Krishna says this is the Agni. Now, every person, every living entity has a different degree of this lust. Right? And here, Krishna is saying the same thing. What is Krishna saying? That he is giving 3 examples. 3 examples are fire is covered by smoke. Huh? Okay, let me bring this. Fire is covered by smoke. First example. Second, a mirror is covered by dust. And third example, embryo is covered by womb. Living entities similarly covered by different degrees of lust. Okay. Now, what is this? Because you will see what a complicated thing. Bhagavad Gita is not something, light. You have to really understand it. When I also read it, I thought, like, what is this? It's difficult to understand. But then with the help of devotees, we can understand, right? The help of Prabhupada, like devotees. So now here, if you have read purport of Prabhupada, Prabhupada is explaining it very nicely, right? Now, there are, for example, three things: fire, mirror, and embryo. Please try to understand this table nicely, right? Fire, mirror, and embryo. They are different categories of soul, which are covered, right? Objects. This is similar to soul. Now, soul is covered by different degrees of lust, like fire covered by smoke, mirror covered by dust, and embryo covered by womb. Now, if you see, when you see the smoke, if a smoke is coming, that means the fire is there, right? Although not visible in form, but function is there, right? When you see this mirror, which is covered by dust, what is it? It is not even functioning. The mirror will not function if there is dust in front of it, right? So that means there is a layer which needs to be cleared before you see the function. Now, if you want to see the fire in the smoke, you just have to give a blow. But to remove the dust, you have to clean it. Cheto darpan marjanam bhavamadavagni nirvapanam Shreya Kerav Chandrika Vitaranam Vidhyavatu Jivanam. This is Shikshastakam, Chetan Mahaprabhu. He says, Cheto Darpan Marjanam. In order to clean the dust which has accumulated in our heart, what we have to do?
Harinam Sankirtan.
Harinam Sankirtan. So we have to clean this dust. Now the third is the embryo in the womb. Can you see the embryo by any of these processes? No. You will not be able to see. The layer is very thick. Now, first category, fire covered by smoke, is like pure consciousness of human beings, which is covered by a thin layer of smoke. This is compared with human beings' consciousness. We have, when we say we have a more developed consciousness, right? What does it mean? Now, animals are compared with a mirror in the dust because their consciousness is not as developed. Now, you see, there is a question always asked to us when we tell people you should be vegetarian. You all are also killing trees, right? You are also killing plants. They are also living. Then what is the problem? You are also killing. We are also killing. So the fools, they cannot understand the difference of consciousness. First things. Now, let me tell you one. When a child is 1 month old, you put their, what do you call, ear, you pierce their ears, right? They will feel the pain, but they will not know where it is coming from. So they will not be able to touch it because they don't know. The consciousness is there, but it is not very developed. Now, do you remember when you were in the womb, upside down, with so much of water, urine, and all that stuff there? Does any one of us remember? No. Consciousness was there. We don't remember. So the developed consciousness was not there. It was there, but not developed. Same. The second example is for plants. Third example, that there it is compared to their consciousness is very least developed, right? Their consciousness is very least developed. And it is said, do you know this story of two trees, two Ashoka trees in the courtyard of Nand Maharaj? Nal, Kuvera, and Manigriva. You know why did they become tree? Because they were enjoying without any clothes on the body with girls in the river. So people who don't want to wear clothes sufficiently, they will take birth as trees. You don't want to wear clothes, better become trees. Right? So because they have a thick covering of lust, they are like trees. They have thick covering. Only they will see lust. So Krishna says, you better become tree. So Narad Muni said, you better become tree. But then they were asking for forgiveness. And then Narad Muni said, okay, you will become tree in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj, where baby Krishna will bless you. He will give his darshan to you. And that is related to Kartik and Damodar Leela, which we will narrate next time. Right? So basically, it is the thick covering of lust in different degrees, covering the consciousness of different living entities. Right? Now, the degree of lust is increasing with the intensity. Right? And to overcome it is what? It is most difficult in what? Most difficult in
Third.
right?
What?
The third. Right? And Prabhupada says in this purport, who would like to read this purport?
In the form of a human being, the living entity may revive a little Krishna consciousness, and if he makes further development, the fire of spiritual life can be kindled in the human form of life. By careful handling of the smoke in the fire can be made to blaze. Therefore, the human form of life is a chance for the living entity to escape the entanglement of material existence. In the human form of life, one can conquer the enemy lust by cultivation of Krishna consciousness under able guidance.
Did you understand? Right?
Yeah, Prabhuji, yeah.
Very nicely Prabhupada is explaining this. Only in the human form of life, there is this opportunity to read and study Bhagavad Gita, to understand how we are entangled and how we can overcome these things. How we can come? Prabhupada is saying by cultivation of Krishna consciousness under able guidance. Able guidance of devotees, able guidance of spiritual master, right? Then we can easily overcome these layers. Now, what next? Who will like to read this?
I will try to.
Yeah.
Avrittam jnanametena jnanino nityavairina kamarupena kaunteya dushpurena lena cha. Sorry.
So you will read the translation also?
Yeah. Thus the wise living entity's pure consciousness becomes covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire.
Avratam. Avratam means covered. What is covered? The Gyan. Avratam Jnanatipena. Whose? Jnaninaha. Of the knowledgeable. By whom? Nitya Verina. Again this word has come. Why is it Nitya Verina?
Our greatest enemy forever, and which can degrade us at any time.
Anytime.
Eternal, basically.
Yeah,
It is from one life to the other life, probably.
Very nice, Harshad. Nitya means eternal. But see, Nitya means eternal. But eternal not always mean eternal means always eternal. Eternal also is used for long. Okay. So Nitya Verina. है ना? Kama Rupena. Now, calm word, sometimes, calm is also used for any type of
Desire.
intense desire, calm. But here specifically, in this section, Shripad Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Shripad Baldev Vidyabhushan, they have specifically said, here the word calm is used for sexual desire, that lust. That is there. Okay. Kama Rupena Kaunteya. And Dushpurena. What is Dushpurena? It is never satisfied. It is never satisfied. And they also give the example. If you see Prabhupada purport, he is giving this example. What is we are showing in the photo you are seeing? What are we pouring in the fire?
Ghee.
Ghee.
Now, if you keep on pouring ghee, what will happen to fire?
Keep on enlightening. I mean, it will never stop.
So similarly, what is Krishna saying here? The wise living entity's pure consciousness becomes covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire. Now that philosophy, you remember that Kim 3.3 3.2 Nigraham Kim Karishyati.
Kim Karishyati.
Huh? That those fools, they were society. What Harshad also said, what was Bhoga and Yoga, something Harshad was saying.
Yeah.
Yoga to yoga.
Yoga through Bhoga.
That is all rascaldom, right? Here you see what Krishna is saying clearly, that this is not going to help you. It will never be satisfied. It will never be satisfied. What you have to do, if you keep on pouring ghee on the fire, where will fire go? It will increase. So what you have to do is to control. What you have to do is to control, right? That is very important for all of us to understand. What is this?
Attachment.
Now you see what Prabhupada is saying.
To spiritual purpose.
Now who will read this? Very deep.
In the material world, the center of all activities is sex. And thus, this material world is called Maithunya Agara. Maithunya Agara. Or the shakeless of sex life. In the ordinary prison house, criminals are kept within bars. Similarly, the criminals who are disobedient to the laws of the Lord are shackled by sex life. Advancement of material civilization on the basis of sense gratification means increasing the duration of the material existence of living entity.
Now people tell us, what is the problem we are making so much of advancement? Rajesh ji is making so many chips. Our Shanmukh ji also is helping in using his intelligent brain. Harshad and Sumit and Nikita all are making new drugs. This is very good material advancement. But here what is said? Advancement of material civilization on the basis of sense gratification means increasing the duration of material existence of a living entity. Dukhalayam ashashvatam. This is all Dukhalayam ashashvatam. And therefore, we have to understand what is the root cause. Why this material world is known as Maithunya Agar. Because, the center of everything in this material world is that desire, that lusty desire, which propels us to do sinful activities. What happened to Ajamil? Ajamil was in Satyuga and we are in Kali Yuga. Ajamil saw one prostitute, and what do we see everywhere? How are we going to protect us? That is a big question. That is a very big question and very serious matter. So until and unless you are really, surrounded by devotees, surrounded by Krishna consciousness activity, Why does Prabhupada say, before you go out of your house, you should chant your rounds, you should read books, you should do deity worship, you should hear things. If you do your morning sadhana nicely, some people ask, Shri Gaur Prabhu, why you are giving so many marks of chanting in the morning and not equal marks in the evening? Because of this problem. Because of this problem. Chanting is same, but we have to, what we say, prepare a strong armor around us, strong shield around us, which can protect us from all these things, our senses, right? That is very important for us, right? Now, if you see, what is this? One more.
Loss of mind.
Intoxication.
Lust leads to degradation. Now, what Prabhupada says. Someone will read this.
While one enjoys sense gratification, it may be that there is some feeling of happiness, but actually that so-called feeling of happiness is the ultimate enemy of the sense enjoyer.
Ultimate enemy of sense enjoyer, Baba. That so-called happiness. If you please, if someone has any doubt, Krishna will directly say, read 18.36, 37, 38, where Krishna is talking about modes of nature. The thing which gives you happiness in the beginning and pain at the end, what is that? Mode of
Rajas.
Rajas. That which gives pain in the beginning. Arey yaar, why to get up early in the morning, all these things, you're chanting and all this, why, Baba? Things which give pain in the beginning, but pleasure at the end is
Goodness.
Mode of goodness.
Satoguna. And which gives pain from beginning to end is tamas.
Comes.
Sleeping, laziness, all these things, right? So this so-called happiness, it is not that why otherwise people will engage in all these lusty, sinful activities. Yes, they feel some happiness, but that happiness is actually their ultimate enemy. Is their ultimate enemy. Yeah. Now, okay, Krishna has spoken enough about lust. Now the question arises, Krishna, how to overcome? Now, if you have to overcome an enemy, if you need to do surgical strike, Harshad, if you need to do surgical strike, you should know where your target is. Huh? Now, where will you do surgical strike on this lust? Please tell me. You should know the target, right? So Krishna will now share the targets. Okay, who will read this?
I will read Sumit. Indriyani mano buddhir asyadhishtanam uchyate etair vimohyatai esha jnanam avritya dehinam. The senses, the mind, and the intelligence are the sitting places of the lust. Through them, lust covers the real knowledge of the living entity and bewilders them.
So this is a GPS location we have already found out. What are the location? 3 locations we have to target and conduct surgical strike. So what are these 3?
Sense, mind, and intelligence.
Sense, mind, and intelligence. These are the 3 locations of what? Lust. 3 locations. Strategic location. So what is Prabhupada writing? Someone will like to read this?
The enemy has captured different strategic positions in the body of the conditioned soul. Lusty intelligence influences the spirit soul to acquire the false ego and identify itself with matter, and thus with the mind and senses. The spirit soul becomes addicted to enjoying the material senses and mistakes this as true happiness.
Right. So the enemy, who is the enemy here? Lust. Right. Now this enemy lust has captured 3 strategic locations. Now China and Pakistan, what do? If they always, these neighboring countries, they want to capture their strategic location. And this enemy which is inside, not outside, we are more bothered about what outside enemies are doing, less bothered about what inside happening in our body. What is happening inside? The enemy has captured strategic positions in the body of conditioned soul, senses, mind, intelligence. And because of this, our intelligence has become lusty. That lusty intelligence, what does it do? It forces the soul to identify with this material body. And then what happens? The spirit soul becomes addicted. Addicted to what? Enjoying the material senses, and mistakes this as true happiness. The root cause is lust. This is the greatest enemy. Verinam, Nitya Verinam. No? This is greatest enemy. Now Prabhupada helps us. Someone would like to read this.
Prabhuji, one question.
Yeah.
You said lust also be part of intelligence, right? I think mind goes here and there, but the intelligence who actually tells, okay, this is the right thing to do. And if mind doesn't listen, it will go in whatever direction it wants. But then maybe intelligence is not pure in the sense.
Yeah.
So why it is occupied by lust again?
Because it is not pure.
Okay.
That is why if you see, Krishna already told in 2.66, Nasti buddhirayuktasya nachayuktasya bhavana nachabhavyatah shantir ashantasya kutha sukham. If you will not have transcendental intelligence, how will you get transcendental intelligence? By chanting, by reading, by hearing Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. You get transcendental intelligence and a steady mind. That helps you to get a peace. And then peace will give you happiness. That is the thing. But if our intelligence is polluted because of lust, then we will fall down.
Okay.
And then Prabhupada quotes this verse in this from Srimad Bhagavatam. This is very important verse for all of us. Someone can read?
I will read this with. A human being who identifies this body made of 3 elements with itself, who considers the byproducts of the body to be his kinsman, who considers the land of birth worshipable, and who goes to the place of pilgrimage simply to take a bath rather than meet men of transcendental knowledge, there is to be considered like an ass or maybe a cow.
Wow. Don't think that our scriptures are mild. They are very strong, very direct, sir. Huh? Now, most people, why do they go to place of pilgrimage? Why do they go? To take bath in the holy river or to take darshan. But then, what is Bhagavatam saying? Those people are compared with
As our cow.
ass or crow. And there is one more verse which compares them to this is as a cow or to a crow who is enjoying in the dead body. Very strong. So what then what should we do when we are going to all these holy places?
We should be in the consciousness of Lord and also meet the devotees and have the satsang.
Yes, the main aim. See, Shanmukh ji, when we go to college, why do we go to college? To go to the canteen?
No, we have to study the subjects.
Here we are going there to study, to take some knowledge from the professor.
Yes.
That is the primary purpose. The main purpose of going to holy place is to associate with devotees. Now, Shanmukh ji, Rajesh ji, when we went to temple, you know, these people are going, bringing something to deities and offering. And when we tell them, do you read this? No. And sometimes I used to tell them, you know what, you are going to the temple, but please read what that deity wants to say here. Baba, that is written in Bhagavad Gita. You are going, offering nariyal and tulsi and flowers and offering money, but Baba, try to listen what they want to say. That is written in these scriptures. They don't know. That is why they are compared to as. We see they are good devotees, pure devotees. Hey, why you are calling them like? We are not calling. Bhagavatam is calling them as. Sometimes people take so much of pain, collect money, and go to holy places. Bhagavatam is saying they are as. They are like any other animal. Now, also, one more thing. Someone who identifies himself with his body, again, same thing. Body, this is my body and this is my family. For them, we will work like cats and dogs and donkeys, right? 24 hours a day. Directly, it is being chastised here, that mentality, that mindset. We should not be in that mindset. Right? So, because if we live in that consciousness, we will go nowhere. Now, what to do then? Okay, who will read this?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Tasmat tvamindriyanyadau niyamya bharatarshava papmanam prajahihenam jnana vijnana nashanam.
Thank you. Please.
Therefore, O Arjuna, best of the Bharatas, in the very beginning curbed this great symbol of sin, lust, by regulating the senses, and slay this destroyer of knowledge and self-realization.
Right. So, tasmat tam indriyani adau. First thing to regulate is indriya. There are three things: senses, mind, and intelligence. Right. First is to control the indriya. Niyama. What do you mean by niyam?
The regulative principles.
Do's and don'ts.
Procedures.
Niyam. It is also in the Ashtanga.
Ashtanga Yoga.
Yam niyam. And here also Krishna is talking about niyam. Niyam to control these things. What niyams we talk about? We are following 4 regulative principles. No meat eating, no intoxication,
No
no
gambling.
gambling, no illicit.
Yes.
These are the primary things. These are the primary things, not the main thing. Primary 4 things. Krishna is talking about niyama. Niyama bharatarisha. Papmanam prajahi. Prajahi means curb. These are the greatest symbol of sins. You have to curb them. Prajahi. Prajahi means control. Right? What are they doing? Jnana Vijnanam Nashina. 0. All our knowledge and realization will become 0 if we are not able to follow these 4 regulative principles. Unfortunately. So these are the basic things Krishna is requesting us. Right? Here Gyan refers to the knowledge that we are not this body, we are soul. And Vigyan means to know the relationship of soul with super. What is the relationship? Jivere Sarup Hoye
Eternal servitor.
Krishna Nityadas. Right? That is what is important for us to understand. Right? And what are the 4 regulatory principles we have already talked about? Right? These are the basic things which we should always follow. This is the primary step. You know what? For example, we go to school. The primary thing for going to school is to wear the school dress. In India, that is compulsory, right? Without school dress, you will not be allowed to enter in the campus. That is the basic thing. 4 regulatory principles, right? We should all try to follow these. These are the basic things. And then Prabhupada highlights the purport. Who will like to read this? Sometimes we feel dejected. I am too late. But here, Prabhupada is helping us.
Krishna consciousness is so powerful that even a late beginner can become a lover of God by following the regulative principles of devotional service. So from any stage of life or from the time of understanding its urgency, one can begin regulating the senses in Krishna consciousness, devotional service of the Lord, and turn the lust into love of God, Godhead, the highest perfectional stage of human life.
I hope this will be very encouraging a statement to all of us, right? So if we follow nicely, we can convert that lust to love back. For example, there is a power station and this bulb in our house. Now, if the connection is broken, then the bulb will not light. But if that is, you join them again, then the bulb will start lighting. So same, currently, we are all having these sinful desires. This can be transformed into love. What was that verse? Shanmukh-ji? Yeah.
Verse number?
Or use everything for me. Vashe hi yasendriya.
Tani sarvani sanyamya yukta asita matparaha vasehi yasyendriyani tasya prajna pratisthita.
Use everything for Krishna. Everything will be nice. Param drishtva nivartate. So, okay. Now,
So may I,
please.
sorry, just one quick question. Sorry. So we discussed that there are 3 strategic locations of the lust. So is the intensity of these lusty desires on these strategic locations different? Like what is easier to control? What is so challenging to control? We discussed in our last session also.
Krishna has already read your mind. Krishna has already read your mind. See this verse. Now you will recite this verse.
Indriyani paranya ahur indriyebhya param manaha manastastu buddhiryo buddhehe paratastu saha. The working senses are superior to dull matter. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind. And the soul, is even higher than the intelligence. Oh. Thank you.
See how he reads your mind, Harshad. It is, that is why we say these things are very scientific. The Bhagavad Gita is very, very scientific. It is presented in a very scientific way. Now here, this is the flow chart. Flow chart of hierarchy. Hierarchy between whom? You see here, you senses are higher than the body, means superior to the dull matter. Senses are basically the body acts through senses. And of all the senses, which is the most powerful? Who is controlling? Like these are 5 senses and this is the mind controlling the 5 senses. Center, the control center. And who is controlling we saw the chariot picture, right, in the previous verse. Who is controlling the mind? Who is controlling the reins of the horse, chariot?
Buddhi.
Charioteer, Sarthi, right? The intelligence, right? And the soul is even higher than that. Soul is even higher, right? Pure transcendence. So soul, if connected to super soul, then intelligence will be controlled. Nasti buddhirayuktasya na chayuktasya bhavana na cha bhavayata shantirashantasya kutasukha. That verse is very, very important. You see, the hierarchy is also given there, not only here. If you control, if you make your intelligence transcendental, the mind will be controlled, then you will be peaceful, happy. Okay? So basic thing is, but now Harsha, the increasing complexity of the control is opposite in a sense. Senses are easy to control. So that is why the first thing we request you to is to follow
Start
Kodari,
from senses.
right? Mind is not easy to control, but if you start with your senses, then most difficult than intelligence, right? So you have to start controlling the senses. But how? So use the soul, which is the most powerful. How you will use? By taking help of super soul. Nastir buddhir ayuktasya na chayuktasya bhavana. Acha bhavayata shantir. Then it will be. So use your transcendental, use Bhagavad Gita knowledge, use association of devotees, to make your intelligence strong, mind in control. So his senses will be controlled easily. Once senses are controlled, then gradually things will be controlled. What is this?
This is so scientific, Sumit.
Yeah.
If we go back to the previous slide, I can correlate this with Vishwamitra also, who was trying to control via his own intelligence, but he wasn't connected to the soul. So that means, we can understand that if the soul was probably used in the right place by taking help from Krishna, he would not have fallen.
Shanmukh wants to recite 10.10.
Tesham satatayuktanam bhajatam priti-purvakam dadami buddhi-yogantam yena mamupayamti te.
Krishna is saying, Dadami buddhi yogantam. I will give you the intelligence. By which what will happen? You will come back to me. Tesham satatayuktanam bhajatam priti-purvakam dadami buddhi yogantam yena mam upayanti te. By which you will come back to me. See, Krishna will give that intelligence, which unfortunately some of the other transcendentalists not have the liberty. What is this?
Snake charmer.
Huh?
Snake charmer.
Snake charmer controlling the snake. How we should control? Prabhupada is giving this example in the book. Who will read this?
A neophyte spiritualist is generally advised to keep aloof from the objects of the senses. But aside from that, one has to strengthen the mind by use of intelligence. If by intelligence one engages one's mind in Krishna's consciousness by complete surrender unto the Supreme Personality of the Godhead, then automatically the mind becomes stronger. And even though the senses are very strong, like serpents, they will be no more effective. They will be no more effective than serpents with broken fangs. But even though the soul is the master of intelligence and mind, and the senses also, still, unless it is strengthened by association with Krishna in Krishna consciousness, there is every chance of falling down due to the agitated mind.
Right? So we always need to always be connected with Krishna. Then we will be able to control intelligence, mind, senses. And on the opposite direction, always remember 2.62 and 63. Don't contemplate too much on the sense objects. Be careful. Hai na? That is important. This is the training of the mind. Chanting, reading, hearing about Krishna to get transcendental intelligence, steady mind, which will then help to control the senses. And then we will be able to conquer the lust. Main thing, focus on these things. Chanting, hearing, reading. Main thing. Then things will be, you don't have to put so much effort. Effort will be required, but not as much. It will be effortless. And the last verse. What does Krishna say?
Prabhuji, one question. Can you
Your
go back to
question?
the previous slide? This one. So by chanting, reading, and hearing about Krishna, so we increase our transcendental intelligence. It will lead to transcendental intelligence, and after that, the mind will be steady. And if the mind is steady, naturally our senses are uncontrolled, and then we conquer the lust. But I think chanting and reading and hearing about Krishna, that anyway, I mean, we do it. And then parallelly, we have to put our effort to control our senses also. Is that the correct understanding?
Yeah, that is, see, you have to do two things in parallel. Why that so much effort will become effortless? Because of chanting, hearing, reading. Right?
Yeah.
At the same time, if you keep pouring the ghee on the fire, if you follow if you don't follow the four regulative principles, then they will not have so much. You are trying to ignite, the fire. But if you keep putting the water, no use.
So parallel effort. Okay.
So that 2.61 says the same thing, right?
Can you please recite?
No, that same one, that Tani Sarvani Sanyamya is like control your senses, concentrating on me. That is what Krishna said.
Control, control, concentration, conquest.
Conquest and
Compliment.
complement. Yeah.
Okay.
That is very. So this is the last verse which will connect us to the fourth chapter.
So again saying that becomes the prajna.
Yes. Self-realized.
Yeah, self-realized.
Who will read?
Thus, someone can read.
You can read.
Yeah, thus knowing oneself to be transcendental to the material senses, mind and intelligence, O mighty armed Arjuna, one should study the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence, Krishna consciousness, and thus by spiritual strength conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust.
Study the mind by spiritual intelligence. And thus by spiritual strength, conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust. So we have to use spiritual intelligence. And therefore, Krishna will talk about what that spiritual intelligence is, how you get in fourth chapter, which is titled as Transcendental
Knowledge.
Right. So in the purport, Prabhupada highlights one very important thing. Who will read this? He's sort of summarizing this whole third chapter.
I will read, Sumit. In the material existence of life, one is certainly influenced by the propensities for lust and desire for dominating the resources of material nature. Desire for overloading and for sense gratification is the greatest enemy of the conditioned soul. But by the strength of Krishna consciousness, one can control the material senses, the mind, and the intelligence. One may not give up work and prescribed duties all of a sudden, but by gradually developing Krishna consciousness, one can be situated in a transcendental position without being influenced by the material senses and the mind, by steady intelligence directed towards one's pure identity. This is the sum total of this chapter.
Right. So with this, we end our third chapter. Right. So anyone has any question?
Smitji,
Yeah.
soul has to join the super soul to get pure consciousness.
Mhm.
So all these processes we learn, but work should be done in the bhakti level.
Right.
And then the senses, we cannot measure them or we cannot study them or observe them. Only through bhakti, it will automatically, it will reduce.
Right.
That's the concept.
Mhm. Definitely. See,
So,
all this reading of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, hearing, and chanting, all this, these are processes of devotional life, right?
yes,
They help us to connect with Krishna.
yes, sir.
And these things, they will give us transcendental intelligence.
The opportunities are given, and will it happen naturally, this process?
Naturally, only one thing happens in this material world. You know what? If this is a slope, Padmaji,
Yes, sir.
if you are using your cycle to climb up this steep slope,
Yes, sir.
you are here in the midway. Naturally, what is happening?
We will slide.
You will slide. That is the material world. Naturally, in this material world, everything goes down.
Fall down.
Okay,
So
sir.
you always have to put effort, upward,
Okay,
right?
okay, sir. Thank
That
you
is
so
why
yeah.
this material world is Mathuna Agar.
much.
Naturally, everything in material world is going down.
Yes, sir.
Every time we have to put conscious. That is why it is Krishna consciousness.
Okay, sir.
Every time we have to put conscious effort to connect to Krishna.
Yes,
And
sir.
if we connect to Krishna, then effortlessly,
Okay.
as if Krishna is then pushing us from the back
Yes, sir.
to climb the steep slope.
Yes. Our individual effort is needed for this.
Yes, individual effort will be needed, like at no point of time
Yes, sir.
can we say that, that because that is what it is, now consciousness.
Yes, sir. I understand. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Any other comment or question? So we start with the